Okay, it's gonna be a short little video, but I don't know. I feel like I'm going in a little direction right now that I'm starting to be excited about. And I just wanted to talk, I don't know. I wanted to record this, I guess. I just started doing my own research. I've been doing a lot of my own research this year. I feel like I'm going through a portal in life right now. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I guess I just wanted to talk about I think that the reason that a lot of people don't get as ahead as they want to some like in life is because I think that sometimes we have to stop waiting for people to for somebody to give you the permission to change or somebody to give you the permission to go after what you care about. And I think that's something that I've learned from, I think, I talked in my last video about how I was writing an undergraduate thesis and I didn't get to finish and I had to submit it. And I think in a lot of ways that was an extremely pivotal and important moment for me because I had to finish the paper myself and it gave me a sort of stubbornness of like, I know I want to keep doing this and I'm not going to take this as like a, you know, I didn't want it to be a failure. Like I wanted it to turn into a win for me and I don't know, I just didn't want that to be like, sort of like, well, I guess it wasn't that great anyways, right? So I went down this whole path with it and I kept exploring things. I kept exploring dissociative identity disorder. I kept exploring like things I talked about in my paper, absorption, like dissociative absorption, dissociation, and it's feeling like it's turning into something for me. But I think the real reason that I think it was pivotal was because I stopped. It really disrupted my attachment to the fact, like the idea of assignments, and like I have to turn in an assignment and all this learning that I'm doing, it's for school. I think just that like disruption of like you didn't get it in and you didn't get the validation and you didn't get that moment of just like, yay, your teachers told you were great. Like I didn't get that even though I wanted it at the time, and then I had to be like, all of this learning now that I'm going to do, it's going to be for me. And I think it just made me this really sort of self-motivated learner of like, I am spending, first of all, I still, like I said, I still wrote a lot through like a lot of things going on. And so I ended up learning the skills of just like, reading mass amounts, researching. It gave me direction and research. So it was an amazing experience for me. But I think not getting to turn it in and not getting the validation was actually, in hindsight, amazing as well, because it just taught me to do it on your own. Just do it on your own. Don't like, I think like you don't need your biggest wins to be, through somebody else. You don't need your biggest wins to be through an institution. You don't need your biggest wins to be obvious. Like you need, like your biggest wins can come from just you and your work and your research and things that you do on your own. And I think that so often we want our lives to change and we want to do something big and meaningful and we just wait for other people to be the one to give us the structure and to tell us how to do it. And I think that's part of research as well. You do have to get grants, you do have to, go sometimes through that sort of process. But I think that um, it's just, we also like, I think we need to stop waiting for somebody to come in and tell us what to do and how to do it. And sometimes you just need to figure it out on your own and you just need to do that project on your own. And you need to be the one to internally validate yourself and tell yourself like how to do something. And I think that so much of my experience with healing from my traumatic experience and from like just this entire period of growth in my life has been so self-directed. I think nobody has really been able to tell me how to do it or how to heal, how to navigate my symptoms, how to navigate my life. I don't think that I had very much direction, and I think that in a lot of ways there was so many difficulties that came from that, but I think in a lot of ways it was really good as well because I think I had to develop my own framework of like what everything in my life meant and how to handle it. And it just disconnected me from, I think I've never like ended up feeling like, I think over time I felt less and less like I was waiting for somebody to tell me how to heal, tell me how to fix my problems, tell me how to learn, or what to learn. And I think again, so often wait for other people to tell us, oh, this is starting to feel important to me a lot. We wait for other people to tell us what's possible, right? Like, we like rely on the people around us to tell us what's possible for us or what's possible in reality. And I think that one of the most painful parts of being like severely mentally ill for a period of time was that I felt disconnected from the reality that other people were living. And I just feel like sometimes my grip on reality was like a little bit, it wasn't gone, but it was just like, I think that I had a different sort of relationship to reality. And I think that a lot of times I think that like it just showed me that our reality is something that we're all creating together. And so often we're sort of bound by the limitations that each other set, and what, like, the common consensus of what's possible and what's real. And I think that I went through an experience that was so outside of just like the expected and just so strange. And so I feel like I was in such a liminal space. And I think that it just really taught me as well to like not attach to, I mean, obviously stay connected to reality, don't, go off the deep end. But I think also that we need to be aware that that there's more to reality than what we always are seeing. And that, sometimes we have to have belief in things that other people don't really necessarily believe, or, that maybe, yeah, I think that's just so many of how, like, that's just how so many important things have gotten, like, discovered, have gotten done in the world. And yeah, so I think I've just been reflecting on all of these things, and just, like, just to, I guess I don't even have that much to say, but just to think, like, I just think that we need to, like, final, like, sort of idea is just stop waiting for society, for people to tell you what to do and how to do it. You don't have to. I think it's so valuable to, I think, learning on my own in my own time, not through an institution, not through like a school, and just taking these 2 years off of school as well has been so, like, gratifying to me. It's been amazing, an amazing experience to just keep learning on my own, to learn things that I think that so often when we get stuck in an institutional space of like, I think that sometimes we don't go outside of our own box, like we have to keep learning things that are related to um our, our like identity or us. And I think that it's been such a good experience to um I don't know, I think that failure was just probably the most important thing that ever happened in my entire life, genuinely. And um yeah, I don't know, I'm just like feeling like a little bit of magic tonight, and just feeling like I'm about to go through a portal in life, and just feeling really excited to see like the outcome. But yeah, I think that's just been my biggest takeaway from life as I start to move into my own projects and personal projects and things that I'm working on. And just, I think I keep waiting for the solution to be sort of through another person, or I keep waiting for someone to sort of give me the solution, or getting into school is going to be the sort of the sort of end goal, or get, I'm gonna, or like having some institution like that I'm gonna work through is gonna be this sort of end goal. And this sort of like, I don't know, in terms of my own personal project, I'm like, it's not like, I keep thinking that I feel like I keep thinking that it's gonna be there, and it's gonna be like a school project or something like that, and it's not gonna be that. I think it's just gonna be me doing my own thing, and just me doing my own research, me experimenting on my own. And like, yeah, I don't know, crazy, yeah, I don't know, but I've just been like, I think I've just been feeling such a sense of just like like empowerment, and just like, um how to put it, like self-reliance, I guess. Like I don't need to, I mean, it's good to rely on other people, but I think it's more like I don't need to keep waiting for somebody else to give me the solution, somebody else to tell me how to do my work, or somebody else to sort of guide me down. And I think that's a bit magical as well, because I think I've never even had that guidance on any of this experience. And now I think the sort of closing out of this little like moment of this like period of this research that I'm doing, I think is gonna be on my own too. So that's kind of beautiful. Yeah, but yeah, just working on my little personal project at home. So yeah. From a spiritual perspective, I also just wanted to like evoke my grandfather on my mother's side really quick, because I thought of him as I was editing this video, and just I guess also like almost like this sort of ancestral sort of like journey that's sort of being taken, I think. But my grandpa, he just passed like 2 months ago or something like that, and he very old, like 90s, 96 or something like that. And but we never really had really a very we didn't have a personal connection at all. He was very disconnected from um his family. He went off and lived on his own, and it's like it's the whole thing. We never I only met him ever one singular time when we went to Brazil. I also didn't grow up in Brazil, so we didn't have as much time or access. So I only met him one time, but I always heard a lot of stories about him. He was like a character. But my grandfather was an incredibly intelligent person. He was born in like the northeast of Brazil, so very, very like dry. Always there's always drought and things there. His mother was indigenous and his father was black, so my mom is mixed. And he only went to school until like the 8th grade, and then he dropped out of school, and he had like a gajillion siblings too, and he just went off and like went to figure life out on his own essentially. And he taught himself how to make maps. He just taught himself, and then he started working and making maps. And it's extremely like the one time I met him, my mom had him bring like one of his maps to show us, and it's like extremely complicated, I think, the mathematics and all of that. And um I mean, I don't know, that's what I am understanding. But anyways, so he just taught himself all this. Now the thing is that because my grandfather didn't have the education and all this stuff, after he made the maps, he would have to basically he made the maps and then he'd give it to somebody else. Somebody educated, I'm also kind of assuming somebody white, but he would have to give the maps to them and they would be the ones to sign off on the map. And yeah, so I mean, he made the money, but I think he never really probably got like the credit. And I know it's not an art piece per se, but it's still his work. And yeah, I think that my entire mom's side of the family, my dad's side of the family is also incredibly intelligent. My dad always loved, like, my family and I always had like these amazing conversations. But I think my mom's side of the family, everybody, I think all of my aunts and my grandpa, everyone, they're very outside of the box thinkers. Very, like, I think very open, I don't know, got their third eyes wide open. I think everybody, like, they're all very spiritual. They all have these really sort of abstract ways of thinking. Like, when I go see my aunt in São Paulo, we always go to visit her house, and then she takes us on these long sort of conversations that I'm just like, whoa, like she'll be just explaining everything about spirituality, the universe, the laws of the universe, and all these things. So I think my whole entire mom's side is very, very, yeah, very smart. But I think that, my grandpa, he had that sort of dynamic. And then my mom, who's an artist, she, I think, has spent so long trying to really find good representation and all these things, gallery to like get her art, which I really want for her as well. But I think that like so much of our story has just been us being self-starters, funding our own projects and just finding these ways to sort of, I don't know, like, how does my mom's side of the family even do stuff? I don't know. My mom, like, she didn't go to art school for undergrad. She actually did anthropology, and I don't know, I feel like I'm getting a little long-winded, but I just think that it's also just a sort of almost, there's this sort of, I think, lineage sort of like, ancestral sort of story, I think, going on here as well of being like self-learners And then also just like learning, I think it's almost like this final, for me, just like, I think it was just also like another breakaway from like, you don't have to rely on somebody smarter than you, somebody like, more established than you to tell you what's possible for you. And you don't have to, um, I don't know, just taking ownership over your work, I think is like, I think I would, doing it for my grandpa in a way, like, unfortunately, my grandpa never got to take ownership over his work in the way that he deserved. And I think that, I don't know, it feels a little full circle. I think me just finally being like, you know what, I don't need to wait for an institution to be the one to tell me how to do my work or to be the one to validate me, or I don't need to wait for an institution to put their name down on my thing, and I'm just going to do my own. I've just found myself an avenue for how to explore my idea for free without having to go through all the constraints. But we'll see if it works out. I think it will, to be honest, though, because I have a lot of ideas right now. But um, yeah, I don't know. I just also like, I feel like I kind of evoked him as well. I think when people pass, I think since I've gotten more into like spirituality, I think I just feel like I feel people's presences sometimes. I feel my grandma's presence all the time. My grandma from Brazil. Like when she had a big lemon tree in her yard, and like we would go there and we'd like smell like we'd be eating these, having lemonade, and just engaging with this lemon tree the whole time. And sometimes I just feel like I smell her in the lemons, or things like that. And yeah, so I've just been feeling, I think sometimes I really can feel like people's spirits. I don't know if that's a ghosty way or just whatever, but yeah, I think when my grandpa passed, I was very curious to see. I think once people, like, this is my personal spiritual belief. I think once people pass, and I think they're just sort of integrated into the sort of collective consciousness, I think that's how spirits work. And like, our subconscious mind, I think, contains this sort of collective consciousness element that, I know this is all very unscientific, okay, and maybe there's in 1,000 years we'll prove of this or something, but this is my personal belief, okay? But I think that like the spirits are just like sort of these wavelengths happening in the collective like subconscious, and I think that spirits, I do believe honestly that like spirits, the spirit of people who have passed influence my life so often. Like every time that I'm having like so many times when I've had a crisis throughout this, since getting into university, I'll see a peacock related thing. And my godmom who passed when I was younger, who left me my college fund that got me through university, her favorite animal was peacocks. So just like little moments like that, I think sometimes I just feel spirits around. And when my grandpa passed, I was very curious to see like what kind of influence are is he going to have on my path, I think. And like I think, because I think that's where I think I feel like I see spirits sometimes. It's just like on these random little influences that sort of happen by magic sort of. And yeah, I think it's really fitting that he passed 2 months away, and now here I am feeling like I can do this little like project on my own, and it's going to be all mine and without anybody else's sort of name, without anybody else's influence, without anything. It's just all mine. I think that's like his gift to me, that I don't have to ever feel like I don't have full ownership over the work that I do, and that my work is going to be a product of me like from the beginning, you know? So yeah, I don't know, that just feels a little bit like his spirit sort of drifting and having its influence, even though I was curious because we never interacted. But in my like whimsical heart, I think once people pass, they integrate into your spirit too, and then they get to know you in a deeper way, past the sort of limitations um of the physical. I think I like to think that after we die, we sort of surpass like all of these sorts of blockages that kept us from being like integrated into this, just pure love and beauty and all these things, and that we just, that we find that healing there, like after we pass. That's like, yeah, that's just the way I see the world. But yeah, it feels fitting. It feels like this is like him and his spirit also pushing me. So yeah, I don't know. I just felt his presence as I was editing. I was like, that's him right there. There he is.